Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another discussion video. Today I want to talk about the launch cards coming out in set 12. The stuff here is really interesting because the leader is very similar to a leader we've had in the past, pretty much Hercule from WMAT theme booster. And while it is pretty similar, it also is a very unique take on an archetype like this. We'll get into it in the video, guys. If you're new here, definitely subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video. If you want to support the channel, go down in the description. There's tons of links there where you can help out, particularly, guys, if you need deck boxes, sleeves, binders, any of that card storage stuff, go use the link to Dex Protection. Excellent quality stuff, really helps the channel out a lot. That being said, let's just get started. So now I posted a King Piccolo deck profile, right? And that's pretty much where I did like the whole King Piccolo discussion because one, I was very interested in that deck. I got to playing it right away. Two, it pretty much encapsulated all the King Piccolo cards, you know, minus what might be a red secret rare in this set. Also minus what might be tournament pack cards that I'm sure we're gonna get that are gonna be great for these decks. But launch is not necessarily something I'm super interested in playing myself. I have played some games with it. I played some games basically with just like the mono red launch stuff that you get here in the set. And it was pretty underwhelming, to be quite honest, but I do actually think launch is good if you play her differently, more so with like multicolor. So let's read the leader and we'll talk a little bit more about it. So on the front side, we have launch, 5k attack, auto once per turn when you combo, draw one. Auto, when a card in your life is flipped face up by one of your red card skills, you may flip this card over. If you do, draw one card. You can't flip to your front for the turn. So basically you can flip each way once per turn. Auto, when this card attacks, shoots one of your opponent's cards, it gets minus 5,000 power for the battle. It's actually really nice because it's an inherent answer to Dark Power Black Mass Sand, which does actually halt and stifle this deck. That's really cool. Also just allows you to actually do damage to 15k leaders, right? Auto, once per turn when you combo, draw a card. And then same thing, when you flip a card face up in your life, you can flip over and you can't flip back to this side for the rest of the turn. So you do draw a ton of cards in launch. Like even when I was playing the mono red variant, you draw a crazy amount of cards. I just found it, you know, kind of difficult to translate that into a board and actually threaten my opponent when I was drawing a ton of cards with just the mono red version alone. So Bulma, Secret Supporter, we have a 1-drop unison blocker, auto once per turn. If your leader card's a red earthling with 10,000 power or less, when a marker is removed from this card by an opponent's attack via the blocker skill, flip up to one card in your life face up. At the end of the turn, flip all cards, all face-up cards in your life face down. So that's the main way you're awakening during your opponent's turn. There's another card that does that. We'll talk about in just a little bit. Activate main +1 if your leader card's a red earthling only card. You may choose one card in your hand, place it in your life. If you do, add one card from your life to your hand. Very similar to the Spring Kai of Time unison we got, I think, in set 10. Yeah, set 10. Very similar effect there, but that's good because you have cards in the deck that work out of your life, right? So you want to kind of life fix there. Son Goku Eye for an Eye is supposed to be one of the cards that's like the main boss monster in the deck. There's no true boss monster here. There's just kind of a bunch of little guy spam effects. So we'll give it a read here. So auto, pay 2 red. If your leader's a red earthling card, when this card in your life is flipped face up by one of your red card skills, you may place the top card of your deck in your life, then play this face up card from your life. If you didn't play a card, place this face up card in your drop area from your life. So basically that's saying like if they counterplay you and prevent you from playing it, this goes to the drop area instead of going anywhere else, right? So then auto once per turn, when your opponent activates a counter skill, deal 1 damage to them. So this is the main threat, I guess, of the launch strategy, and then it's followed up by some of these other guys. Son Goku, ready for anything. He has an auto that says pay a red if you lose a red earthling card and you have 2 or more red energy. When this card in your life flip face up by one of your red card skills, you may place the top card of your deck in your life, then play this card face up from your life. If you didn't, place this face up card in your drop area from your life. So he's unique and critical. And then TN, which we'll read in just a bit, does pretty much exactly the same thing, but he's a unique double striker. And these are the guys that are supposed to be like the threats of the deck. Now, it is kind of crazy to think about from like a card economy perspective because your leader draws an absolute insane amount of cards, right? And these guys play from the life, but then that life gets replaced. So you can almost think of it if in a more simpler sense. You can almost think of it that these cards are being played directly from your deck because you're not losing hand size, you're not losing life, you're not losing anything to play these guys except for them costing energy. But the downside to that is they are particularly small threats and they do take quite a bit of setup to get out onto the board. Krillin, Dearest Friend, this card's really good actually. Basically it's super combo and it draws a card at any life total as long as you have a unison in play. And then if that unison has Rejuvenate, you put this card underneath that unison. So I don't think every single strategy will play this, even if they play a Rejuvenate unison. Like if you look at my Piccolo deck, for instance, I'm not actually playing the super combo because we have other ways to get cards under our unison for that rejuvenate effect. But actually in like Red Gogeta, which I'm messing around with now with the Piccolo Unison, this card is really good because it's one of your 7 ways to put a card under your Unison, so really good there. Yamcha, just regular super combo, not much to see. And then Tien, like I mentioned before, is the same thing as the Goku we just read, has the same way to get into play. He's just a unique double striker, as were the Goku's unique critical. And then Master Roshi here, he's a revenge blocker, and his auto is pretty much the same, except he doesn't have that energy restriction that the other two have, right? The Goku and the Tien require 2 or more energy. This guy can come out on turn 1 if you happen to, you know, flip him there basically and get him into play. But you can kind of manipulate that, like with the Bulma Unison. You're not gonna be able to do all this on turn 1 because you got to pay an energy for the Bulma Unison. But if you use the Bulma's effect to put this into your life, and then, you know, your Bulma Unison flips a card face up, or any card that you play in the deck flips a card face up in your life, you can play this very early on, just so you guys are aware. Bulma Confident Friend, this is definitely one of the main cards in the deck because it allows you to flip during both players' turns. So when this card's played, draw 1, and then if your leader's a red Earthling only card with 10,000 power or less, when this card's using a combo, flip it to 1 card in your life face up. At the end of the turn, flip all face up cards in your life face down. Now, one of the really unfortunate things about these cards is they specify red Earthling only, and it's not like Hercule gets any benefit out of flipping cards in your life face up, but the problem there is he is actually a Earthling / World Tournament card, so a lot of the stuff is actually not usable with him. That's a little bit unfortunate there. Launch, Brown County is most wanted, so it's a 3-drop 15k critical, so kind of complements the critical that we get with the Goku we read earlier. Auto pair red, if your leader's a red Earthling only card, when your leader is flipped to its backside, you may play this card from your hand. So basically, I guess if there's another red Earthling only leader, like Bulma for instance, you can play this upon awakening, but for launch you can basically play it anytime you go to your launch side, right? Or to your angry launch side, I should say. When this card's played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with 15,000 power or less and KO it. So nice piece of removal there, but the common thing I've really noticed with these threat cards like this, the Goku, the Tien, they're not really all that scary. They don't do anything crazy. They're small crits, they're small double strikes, which we've kind of noticed just the way that Dragon Ball is right now. Like Red Broly does aggro much faster and has bigger threats, right? So that's why I don't necessarily think the mono red launch stuff is all that great. But again, I think when you mess around with it in a multicolor sense, especially red blue or maybe even red green, I think you get a lot more benefit out of those. Launch Appear Harder, though, this is absolutely a staple in the deck, 110%. Launch says, if your leader's a red Earthling only card with 10,000 power or less, when this card is using a combo, flip this 1 card in your life face up. At the end of the turn, flip all face up cards in your life face down, and you can't activate the auto on this card for the turn. So this is one of your main cards. You combo, you draw off your leader, then you flip, you awaken. This is one of your main playmakers in that regard. Activate Battle, though, this is actually the most broken effect on this card. If your leader's a red Earthling only card with 5,000 power, combo this card from your drop area. At the end of the battle, send this card from your drop area to your warp. So basically, you get additional usage out of this card while it's in the drop area, as long as you're on your 5k side, not your 10k side. But this is actually where launch plus is like ridiculously hard, because, you know, comboing with this draws you already, right? So you're kind of turning this into like a pseudo combo, but then being able to combo it again out of the drop area makes it actually a super hard plus. Like, you just generated a free card out of nowhere. So that's where some of the crazy draw power kind of comes in there. It's super good. A little bit of Pilaf stuff. This is kind of neat, and I'm pretty sure the Pilaf leader that we've got, the couple of Pilaf leaders we've gotten now, I'm pretty sure they're Earthling only, so this should work with that. But really all it does is spawn these 1-drop vanillas out of the deck. Nothing too crazy there. And then just going along, seeing if we're finishing off the rest of the launch stuff. So Master Roshi's Mafuba also works in launch nicely. It works in also a deck like Bulma. So negate the attack. Then if you have a red Earthling card in play, place this card on top of the attacking card. At the end of your next turn, place this card and only this card in its owner's drop area. While this card is on top of another card, the card underneath it is not treated as a battle card and can't activate any of its skills. But it hasn't like left the battle area. That's like a rolling question. People get confused with Mafuba. The card that you use Mafuba on doesn't necessarily count as leaving the battle area. It's kind of just like transform into a new card, but doesn't retain any of its card text until Mafuba comes off. But this one's weird. I mean, Mafuba is like the gold standard for Mafuba-like cards, as awkward as that is to say. But this card requires you to have an Earthling only leader. I don't think that was totally necessary. But it seems like they really just want all this stuff to only work with launch and maybe Bulma. So negate the attack. Then you have to have a red Earthling in play to even get the next effect of this. So otherwise it's just a regular negate if your leader's a red earthling card, which is weird. And I'm pretty sure this falls off earlier than regular Mufuba. Like, I'm pretty sure this falls off a turn earlier than regular Mufuba, which was a problem that Heroes Mufuba actually had, which made that card a lot more difficult to play as well. And that also had a similar restriction, I believe, of having a green god in play or a god card in play. So very, very restrictive. I don't understand why they had to do that, but I mean, you know, they did what they did. That is one of the weird things about the red, though, in this set. Like, it only really works within its own archetype, whether you're looking at Piccolo or Launch, and that's not super cool, but I mean, it is what it is, I guess. A Chew, 1-drop, activate battle. If your leader card's a red earthling only card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, 10,000 power or less, KO it, then combo with one red launch card in your drop area. So it's another way to reuse that launch SR that we saw earlier, and I guess in a pinch you can also combo with the other launch in your deck. But this card, unlike the Attack of the Demon Clan, I don't view it as like a staple 4 of, because it's a clunky extra card in a red deck, but this doesn't actually generate you too much advantage. Like, it only KOs something small, and you don't need to pay a card to combo the launch out of the drop area when the launch in the drop area already has the effect to combo out of the drop area, right? So that's a little strange there. But anyways, guys, yeah, the mono red, pure mono red stuff for launch is honestly not that impressive. I think that this leader is good, though. It does draw an insane amount of cards. Even playing the mono red stuff, I had like 14, 15 cards in hand pretty much all times, but I just couldn't find a great way to continuously apply pressure. So I'm definitely gonna recommend you guys try this out multicolor. And that's what's really cool about the set, actually. This set is allowing players to do those types of things where, yeah, you have your archetype and it's given to you, but there are other cards you can implement to make the decks even better, which I don't necessarily think they wanted that to happen in set 11, but they're doing that in set 12, and it's super, super cool to see. But anyways, let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.